Hey folks, here at OS Reviews. You're watching our video first look and a quick review of the DBPower 9.5-inch swiveling portable DVD player. This one sells for around $65 on Amazon and comes in a few different color variants. Of course, portable DVD players were more popular several years back, and they seem like a fad that maybe has passed its prime. However, if you are still relying on physical DVDs and you have large collections of movies that kids want to watch, this could be a good option to consider picking up for cheap. It comes with a 2,500 milliamp hour capacity battery, which should last roughly 5 hours of playback before you need to recharge it. And easily the most interesting thing about this version is it comes with a portable gaming controller that plugs into the USB socket and transforms it into kind of this arcade emulator gaming station. It used to come with a mini CD loaded up with games, but due to copyright claims, DBPower is no longer including that game CD as part of the box. However, you can still download all the games on their website, which is kind of interesting. So on the side here, very basic, not too much stuff going on. The model number that's a very specific is the PD928, but again there's also a larger 10-inch version of this DVD player if you want to go larger than 9.5 inches. And inside it looks like we have just the DVD player itself. We'll take a closer look at that in a second, and then all the accessories are in this smaller compartment. Opening this up, we have access to a remote control that uses probably AAA batteries, and I can select between different parts of the movie. I can change the channel, I can change volume, power it on or off, stuff like that. It is an IR remote, so it needs to be in direct line of sight. Something I want to mention about portable DVD players is it obviously can be just a regular DVD player for your television set as well. So you can connect it using RGB onto your HD TV and just use it as a at-home DVD player when you're not on the go. So it really is quite a versatile design. Finally, there is a home charger, which looks like it's proprietary, and there's also a car charger, so you can charge your battery when you're on the move. And then this is the game controller that we'll take a closer look at in a moment. That's it. The DVD player is pretty well protected with several layers of film, and there is a warranty card / instruction manual on the other side. There's a QR code that you can scan with your phone to learn more information. Finally, there are more details that are printed in full color that takes you through the interface and the settings of the player. So let's set everything off to the side except for the DVD player and the game controller, and we'll take a closer look at these two things. The build of this particular model, you can see, has an interesting texture on the front. It looks almost like grids running through the plastic. Overall, it's a matte finish, which means it doesn't attract too many fingerprints, dust, or smudges, and that's pretty good. There's not too much rubber accents going on, so I wouldn't say this is a rugged build either, but it's pretty lightweight and easy to tout with you. Overall, it's about the same size as, let's say, an 8 or 9-inch tablet, something like the iPad mini in terms of its form factor, but it's a bit thicker because of the battery that's integrated onto the base. It isn't removable on this model. On the back, there's some basic info from the manufacturer, ventilation grills, IR blaster port for receiving the remote, and the side here features a USB socket where I can plug in the game controller, a full SD card slot so I can load it up with media and play back movies and songs on a memory card. There is the 3.5mm cable for using your own headphones. There is the AV out, AV in as well if you want to use this as a traditional DVD player for your TV, and there's also power on off, the charging port, and that's it. So a pretty clean overall design. Looks like the back also features additional USB, maybe exclusively for the game controller, so the cable is better managed, whereas this one can be loaded up with music or movies on a thumb drive, just like the full-size SD card reader. So opening up the lid, we have yet another thank you card / warranty card. I'm going to peel off the film from the display here. And first impressions would be that the display here is a glossy finish, so it definitely will attract a bit of fingerprints and glares under light. I wish that it was a matte surface instead, but you can always apply your own screen protector if you want. DBPower logo there, and stereo speakers if you don't want to use your own headphones for playing back sound files from movies directly. And again, this seems to have a pretty generous kind of a hinge that allows it to tilt all the way back or all the way forwards, which offers quite a bit of and customization depending on how you want to position it. And of course, the hinge here can also rotate 270 degrees for, again, a wider viewing experience if you are in the car or showing off videos or movies to family and friends. Finally, the control pad here, if you don't want to use the physical remote control, you can toggle between things like volume, select things, stop the movie. You can play back from various sources, set it up, go through settings, and change the resolution. The default resolution of the screen, by the way, is 800 by 480, so pretty similar to other older DVD players we've seen in the past. And there's also a four-way navigation toggle that toggles back and forth between the menu interface as I use it. What looks like a brushed aluminum finish is actually just plastic, so this is just for visual effect. But overall, it feels relatively well constructed. There's also additional kind of thank you card or warning, which you should remove from the optics before popping in a CD or a DVD. And the last thing I want to mention is you can actually use this as a, let's say, a digital photo frame. If you just want to load back movies or sound clips from a memory card or an SD card and then pop them onto the side of the unit and then swivel the screen around, it makes for a pretty good digital photo frame as well at 9.5 inches. So this is truly one of the more versatile designs I've seen for a portable DVD player, and there are still a few compelling use cases for why you want to pick one up in 2017, and at a relatively low cost, it could make for an interesting gadget to consider. Taking a look at the remote next, it is relatively flimsy and it is made completely out of plastic. It feels a little hollow, but you can see it connects using USB onto the back of the unit. This seems to be a custom feature that other DVD players I've seen in the past don't offer, and otherwise it offers a traditional kind of D-pad in addition to A, B, C, D select keys, and then start and mode keys. So they're pretty tactile and responsive buttons, but they are a little bit rubbery, so the action here might be slightly delayed. But all in all, not bad for a little bonus gift that you get as part of the value. So let's start by taking a closer look at those arcade games. So I've loaded the 207 free games onto a USB thumb drive, plugged it onto the side. You can also burn it onto a CD or pop it onto an SD card, and you can see that after a few seconds, it's going to automatically detect the source that's being plugged in, and it will boot up into this main menu. It's pretty simple as far as the download instructions. You just go to dbpower.co.uk, and under the support page, you can just then visit the DVD player and you'll find software and drivers, and it comes with the free game download. Afterwards, you just unzip the file and then pop it onto, again, a USB drive or a SD card, and you're ready to go. The menu here is pretty simple. Again, we have roughly 202 games. Most of these games aren't repeated, so they are fresh. However, it's a bit of a guessing game since there aren't any fancy documentation that you get that tells you specifically what each game is supposed to correspond to. And some of the names on here are also pretty generic, like 1942, 1943. And as we go down a list, we see things like balloon, baseball, so they don't necessarily correspond to the original title of the game, and you have to really play it to know what it's about. But regardless, it works. One thing I don't really like is using the D-pad on the DVD player and vice versa using the built-in remote. You can only go down one by one through the list. I can't actually hold down and let it scroll quickly, so if you want to get to the middle of the list, it's going to take a while for you to cycle through, and there's no search feature. But regardless, it does function, and you can use, again, the D-pad to control up and down, and if I'm satisfied, I can tap on OK, and that will quickly launch into the game. So this looks like Ghostbusters. Push start button. Afterwards, you would just tap on start on the remote control, and that should, after a few seconds, begin the game. The control itself is relatively responsive, and you can see I can move left and right, and that corresponds to that movement as well, so there are no real problems as far as rendering and controls and ergonomics are concerned. Now, there aren't instructions for many of these games, so you do have to kind of figure it out as you go to really get yourself situated, but most of these games are fairly simple and straightforward, so there's no real complaints. If I want to exit out of this game, I can tap on the bottom key on the D-pad, and that takes me back into this main menu. Some of the games are also, Galactica inspired. They're definitely retro games, so don't expect anything with crazy animations. But again, arcade-style games that you would want on an emulator can be found on here. From the format on the side here, it seems like some of these are ported from NES originally, so it's kind of interesting. Now, all of these games do come equipped with sound, and the sound quality isn't bad either. It is in full stereo. You can mute it or make it louder as you wish, and you can see kind of the age of some of these games. So for instance, let's start on another quick demo here. Some of them also have advanced stages, but the thing is there is no real saving functionality, so you kind of have to just play, and then if you lose or die, you kind of reset. But regardless, it works. I didn't encounter that many hiccups, and for the most part, they were kind of fun to play around with. And here's 1942 or 1943. It's basically a Galactica-inspired game, kind of like you're flying the ship across this battlefield, this battleship, and then more and more planes will start to hover through the air, and then you just control these by trying to shoot these other planes down. So it's pretty fun to play around with, and again, it does work. Not anything crazy as far as animations are concerned, but for the most part, there's not that much latency, and most of the programs are going to run relatively smoothly. So a good way to spend some time when you're on the road and you are kind of bored and don't know what else to do. So having these 202 games is also pretty fun. It's a feature I haven't seen before, certainly on a DVD player, and having this kind of a retro arcade-style gaming definitely adds some value to an otherwise fairly tried and tested product, which is just a portable DVD player. So I like to see that they added something new here. So here we have a movie start to play back, and you can see that it's pretty smooth. There's a little bit of noise just from the spinning disc, but it's relatively quiet as far as the performance is concerned. Movement, even kind of rattling around, you can see that the video still plays without any problems, which means that if you are in a car and the road obviously isn't going to be always smooth, it's still going to render without too many issues. I can also kind of rotate the screen here, the other direction, and have it completely flat, kind of in this tablet form factor, and then mount this into the top of a car, for example, to watch videos, kind of like an LCD display, and that works nicely too. Even at these extreme angles, you can see that the movie is still playing back. Obviously, one limitation here is that there are no access to controls anymore, so you have to use a remote for controlling the movie playback, but as a whole, it works. The display itself also offers decent viewing angles. Extreme angles will wash out the colors because it is just a traditional TFT LCD panel, but it's relatively crisp, and colors are actually pretty accurate looking for a 800 by 480 panel, and it certainly suffices for some quick movies on the go. It has a 16:9 aspect ratio, which is widescreen, and that makes movie content pretty enjoyable to watch, and as a whole, it does a pretty good job. Let's try stopping the film and starting with something new. So we can tap on stop here, and you can see that it's pretty quick to respond. The disc has stopped spinning, and let's pop it for something new. One of the things I like about this DVD player in particular, DBPower is a company based in China, is that Chinese DVD players are not very picky when it comes to regional codes. So if you have movies that are originally intended for various countries, like for the US versus Canada versus UK, stuff like that, it plays back all the discs that I try to throw at it. Whereas if you buy, let's say, a DVD player by Philips or Toshiba that's meant for the US market, sometimes it's going to struggle with other regions and codecs that you want to play. This is great news if you are learning new languages, and if you're always traveling and you're picking up DVDs in various countries, everything will play back just fine on here, which is nice to note. It also plays back CDs if you only want sound without any problems, and VCDs won't play back 100% of the time, but I tried a few and some of them did work, some home videos, but that's pretty much it as far as codecs and types of discs that are supported. You can see this one is a very stretched 16:9 aspect ratio, and that's what it looks like on the screen. I would say that 9.5 inches is decent. It's not a huge display. We're kind of spoiled by Quad HD and full 1080p tablets these days, but as a whole, it remains an enjoyable viewing experience. So that's the DBPower 9.5-inch swiveling portable DVD player. At $65, I think it's a good buy if you're still looking for a portable DVD device, just because it comes with that bonus game functionality, and it supports virtually any DVD that I threw at it, regardless of region or code. So no problems as far as playing back many different types of discs. The screen quality is reasonably sharp. It's not an IPS IPS panel, so there are some limitations there. It's still relatively last gen as far as the technology behind it, and the build quality could be a little bit stronger. It is mainly made out of plastic, although it's reasonably lightweight, and I feel like when I tried handling it at various angles, the movie still played back without any stuttering, which is good. So you can check out more details about this in our official written review, but for now, this has been our video. Thanks for watching here at OS Reviews. This has been a closer look at the DBPower portable DVD